There have been many awesome Star Wars games over the years. Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and even LEGO Star Wars. That said, there have also been a crap ton of god-awful ones as well, like The Force Unleashed 2 and whatever the heck Angry Birds Star Wars was. The truth is, Star Wars has had a long streak of hits and misses, and it's no one's fault in particular, except for, of course, EA. Little wonder when Respawn captured lightning in a bottle with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order back in 2019. Fans were concerned that its long-awaited sequel, Jedi Survivor, was going to be an underwhelming title. However, Jedi Survivor was released on the 28th of April with largely positive reviews. Even IGN gave it a 9 out of 10 rating. Critics lauded its innovative fast-traveling system and versatile combat styles. Others, however, have bemoaned the game's severe frame rate drops, crashes, and abysmal PC release. This begs the question, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor a great game, or is it another lackluster Star Wars title worth skipping? Find out in today's review. Alright, up first is a story and narrative. Jedi Survivor picks up 5 years after the events of Fallen Order. You play as the dual-wielding, force-using, plasma-stopping protagonist, Cal Kestis, who is now a Jedi Knight. Having parted ways with his crew from Fallen Order, Cal continues to fight against the Empire by teaming up with Resistance fighters led by Saw Gerrera. He is joined by a new character, Bode Akuna, who is also a member of the Resistance. After an awesome fight with Ninth Sister, who to be honest, looks nothing like a sister, Cal seeks out his old pal Grease on the planet Cabo. After a heated encounter with Ravis, the leader of Bedlam Raiders, Cal meets up with Grease and he sends him on a scavenger hunt to recover parts that can be used to repair his ship, the Stinger Mantis. After a series of convoluted events, Cal ends up freeing a High Republic Jedi named Dagan Gera, who has turned up to the dark side. Dagan also has a compass that specifies the path to an inaccessible Jedi planet called Tanalorr. After Dagan escapes with the help of Ravis, you link up with your crew consisting of Seer, the Jedi Knight, Marin, the love interest, and others to track down Dagan's compass and establish a Jedi stronghold at Tanalorr. Okay, so I will say it, Jedi Survivor's story is not really that new. It's riddled with cliches, gaping plot holes, and a twist that we could all see coming from a mile away. Call me primitive, but during my playthrough, I was less concerned about the convoluted plot than I was about how many stormtroopers I could force choke at the same time or how many I could force push off a cliff. You know, the important things. The story also has none of the Star Wars characters we care about. I mean, there's Vader, but he basically just shows up at the end to kill off one of the main characters, just like he did in the last game. To be fair, if EA added icons like Obi-Wan and Yoda as playable characters, I'm sure they would be locked behind paywalls bigger than the Death Star. Though seriously, having a few more characters we know of would make this game a strong candidate for Star Wars canon. Ultimately, Jedi Survivor was saddled with the task of being a middle child in a prequel trilogy story, which means it carries very little stakes besides setting up the events of the final game to come. That said, Jedi Survivor still does the best it can with the cards it was dealt, and the story wasn't really a deal breaker for me. Alright, next up is gameplay. Jedi Survivor plays just like the first game with just a few minor adjustments. Playing as Cal, you explore spellbinding alien planets and locations, completing story missions, and taking on side quests. The game retains its prequel Metroidvania style of exploration, which has you backtracking to previous locations after you've gotten new upgrades. However, In Jedi Survivor, you can now fast travel between locations using meditation circles. This saves players the stress of trekking through large maps just to pick up collectibles. In the same vein, Cal can also use beast taming powers in certain levels to mount unique creatures as a means of transport. This power would have definitely come in handy against the Rancor and other legendary enemies, but I guess that would make the game too easy. Speaking of force powers, Jedi Survivor also gives you some new ones to unlock, like Mind Trick, Force Slam, Force Lift, and my personal favorite, Confuse, which can be used to make stormtroopers fight for you temporarily. That's right, dance puppets dance. Since Jedi Survivor boasts a more expansive map with more NPCs, there is also a good deal of side quests to distract you from the main mission. These side quests are called rumors, and most of them can be unlocked by interacting with certain NPCs in Kobo and other planets. These quests could range from monster and bounty hunting to literally just visiting a shop. The game also has some interesting optional challenges called Jedi Chambers, which involve lots of platforming and puzzle solving, if you like that sort of thing. Jedi Survivor's gameplay is easily one of the best aspects of the sequel. The developers did their best to improve on the cool mechanics, which they introduced in the first game by adding fast travel, more platforming skills, and force powers. I found it extremely fun and fast-paced. I just hope they can add some force lightning powers in the sequel. Fingers crossed. Now let's talk combat. Combat in Jedi Survivor is one of the best I have seen in a Star Wars game. Just like in the first game, you can strike, block, parry, and deflect with your lightsaber, as well as dodge or sidestep unblockable attacks. Then, when you get tired of carving up stormtroopers like Thanksgiving turkeys and sending them to Force Heaven, you can use your force powers to throw things at them, make them fight for you, or just push them off a cliff, whichever tickles your fancy. That said, one of the most important innovations in the game's combat is the addition of combat stances, which basically allows you to unlock and use different lightsabers and fighting styles during combat. This mechanic is similar to sword stance in games like Ghost of Tsushima, but even better, especially since you have different types of lightsabers to choose from. The single stance is the default, one lightsaber stance used for a balanced combat experience. The double-bladed stance allows you to use an awesome double-bladed lightsaber with one central hilt, just like the one Darth Maul used. The dual-wielded stance allows you to aggressively use two lightsabers at once. The crossguard gives you a heavy lightsaber with a cool crossguard, just like the one Kylo Ren uses. It's slower than the others, but much more powerful, and personally my favorite. Finally, the blaster stance allows you to use a lightsaber and blaster combination during fights, giving you options for range in combat. Now, I personally didn't use the blaster too much. My personal Jedi fandom prevented me from doing that, but if it's you, it's you. Have at it. Each of these stances have their pros and cons, but it's up to you to figure out which one fits your playstyle the best. Then you can upgrade it as the game progresses. This innovation comes in handy as you have some pretty strong enemies to fight, including monsters who look uglier than Jabba the Hutt's yearbook photo. With all that said and done, Survivor's combat is a part of the game that I really enjoy, and I think you will too. Next is graphics and performance. As expected, Jedi Survivor's graphics are spellbinding. Holy Snokes, it looks gorgeous. There's a variety of locations you visit, from the scorching desert scapes of Jeddah to the brimming cosmopolitan planet of Coruscant. Each location is well fleshed out and begging to be explored. The game also features extensive cosmetic options with more nerdy outfits than a Star Wars convention. You can now customize Cal and BD1 in any way you see fit. Give him a mullet hairstyle, Easy peasy. Make him wear a Jedi outfit. You got it. Turn him into a black guy. No, you cannot do that. To be fair, seeing Cameron Monaghan with black skin would look kind of weird. That said, the game has been absolutely plagued with performance issues, so much so that it's basically unplayable on PC. Seriously, I played this game with a 4090 graphics card and an Intel 13900 processor, yet I experienced 9 crashes during my playthrough. I had to start over on a different console, Xbox. It got so bad that I had to switch just so I could come up with some decent footage for this review. It's a huge blemish on an otherwise solid title, so I hope EA can fix up their bug issues as quickly as possible.
Yeah, look at that.
Next is replayability. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a linear single-player experience that doesn't really let you deviate from the narrative. Besides the side quests, Jedi chambers, and collectibles, there's not much else to do after you've completed the main story. Jedi Survivor also does not have a multiplayer or co-op features. However, the addition of combat stances does give you the option of trying different fighting styles through multiple playthroughs. It's a shame that we don't get all the stances early in the game. With all these factors in mind, I would say the game has a medium level of replayability. Now let's talk about the spirit of this game. Respawn's intention has always been to give fans of the franchise a Star Wars game that can help them experience what it's really like to be a Jedi in a galaxy far, far away. They delivered a solid title with Jedi Fallen Order, but it still had some room for improvement. So, for the sequel, the pressure was on to deliver something that was even better than the first game. To achieve this, the developers listened to and implemented feedback from the fans, and this is reflected in the addition of fast travel, faster movement mechanics, and so on. Then, they doubled down on these improvements with the addition of stances to combat, a mechanic which they always intended to use but couldn't implement in the first game because of time constraints. They've done an incredible job, and at the end of my playthrough, I certainly did have glimpses of the Jedi Knight experience. If not for the performance issues, Jedi Survivor would undoubtedly be the best Star Wars game we have had in the last decade at least. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is an awesome game that both veterans and newcomers to the franchise will enjoy. Its gameplay and combat innovations place it head and shoulders above its prequel. Despite the fact that I experienced some crashes and frame rate issues during my playthrough, it took little away from the incredible, exciting experience that the game sought to deliver. The story, voice acting, and graphics were the perfect cocktail for Game of the Year candidacy, so I have to give it 5 out of 5 stars. Do you agree or disagree with my review? Let me know what you think in the comments. We make awesome videos every week, so remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. I really appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you all in the next one.